Hey, everybody. Hope you all are having a good night. I am super excited to be before you because we are going to be talking about the 5 signs that it's time for you to really attain a six-figure corporate salary. So, I first like to introduce myself. My name is Melissa Flurry, and I am a career and leadership coach with a branded career where I help professionals just like you who are seeking to move into their first six-figure role or maybe transition to another six-figure role and really excel as they ascend up the corporate ladder. So, if you this is your first time joining me, I always love to look back on the chat to see where everybody's tuning in from. Just type in the chat first time. And if you are returning, go ahead and type in OG. And then lastly, if this is a replay for you, go ahead and type replay because I look and listen at all of the comments and I want to make sure that I'm replying back to each and every one of you. So let's get into this topic of being undervalued and going into a top earner. And as I was preparing for this live, I really was thinking about a specific situation that happened to me personally. So I was in a place in my career where I wasn't really looking. I was very early on in my commercial real estate career, and I had a couple of recruiters that were reaching out to me to apply for new roles. So, like I said, I wasn't active, I wasn't looking, so I entertained it. And this recruiter reached out to me for a company, and for the specific role, it was really attractive, right? And what was really, if I'm being honest, what was super attractive about the role was the salary that they were offering. So this would have been the first time I was even looking at a six-figure opportunity, and this would have more than doubled my current salary at the time. So I went on, I interviewed for the role. I didn't get it, but honestly, I wasn't heartbroken about it. I wasn't distraught because more than anything, when you're interviewing for a six-figure opportunity, specifically if it's your first time, it really is a learning opportunity. And it also shattered the beliefs of everything I thought was available for me, as well as just the opportunities that were possible for me. So at that time, like I said, it would have doubled my salary. But then it really sparked my curiosity about what was I doing that allowed them to see that I was ready for this type of role. Because if I'm being honest with you, I thought I wasn't ready. I thought I wasn't qualified enough. I thought I wasn't educated enough. I thought I didn't have the master's degrees and all of these things. When in actuality, I had all of the experience. I had the education that they were asking for. But I found myself really, honestly, being my own roadblock, right? I just found myself creating these obstacles that didn't need to be there, and all I had to do was just show up, be confident, and be able to articulate the value that I already had. And so when I think back at it at this time in my career, and honestly, hindsight is 2020. I realized the signs were there that one, I was ready for the six-figure role, and then also two, that I was being underpaid. And so if you have your notepad, if you're taking your notes on your phone, I want you to really listen to some of these signs. Let me know in the chat box if any of this resonates with you. And then also just let me know if you have questions about it, specifically on how to overcome it. So the first thing is that when we're looking at, are we underpaid, right? Are we ready for the six-figure role? The first thing I notice is that many of us have increased responsibilities. So I know that many of us throughout like COVID, specifically with COVID, and even just from 2020 until now, we're seeing massive layoffs, right? So many of us are taking on a lot of responsibility. We're ending up being the person that's doing the job of two people, three people, right? We need support staff, and we're just doing it all. And so you find yourself taking on more complex projects from what you were even hired for. You see yourself managing a larger team, and possibly you came into the organization not even required to manage a team. And then lastly, you find yourself handling higher level decision making. So when you have increased responsibilities of this capacity, you need to start looking at, are my responsibilities aligned with my salary expectations? And for most of us, we don't think about that because we're just in the weeds of just getting the work done. However, as you're thinking about this next move, about how much you want to make, your next move probably won't have the same job title you have now. You need to be very creative about, not only creative, but just doing the research about what types of roles align with your new increased responsibilities so that you can get paid at that level and not necessarily the level that you're currently hired and what your title is. So, for example, if you are hired to be an associate, but then you find yourself making manager level decisions, you need to be applying for manager level roles, not associate types of roles. And at the manager level roles, you'll be able to make the six-figure mark. The second thing that I was paying attention to, but I thought this was normal, was my stagnant salary growth. So I know on the internet, we all joke about, the 3% increase or the 5% increase and how it's not really an increase at all. Right. And I'll probably talk about the story about the first time I ever got a raise. They told me it was 3%, and I didn't understand how percentages work. And when I did the calculations, once I got back to my desk, because I was excited, I was like, well, 3% sounds kind of low, but it's still an increase. And when I did calculations at my desk, it was like $20 extra at this taxes. Okay. And I was upset. So understanding now how percentages work and seeing that anything that's like a 3% or a 5% increase is not really a raise, right? That's just an adjustment for inflation. And if we even look at what inflation is now, it is way higher than 3 and 5%. So when you're looking at your salary and seeing that inflation is increasing, prices and expenses are increasing, but your salary has remained at $75,000 for the past 5 years, then you really need to consider, one, is this the right organization for me to stay, right? And then two, if I take my exact same skill set and move to a different company or different organization, could I make more money? And 9 times out of 10, you probably can make more money. You just need to really remarket yourself, rebrand yourself, and just learn how to articulate the types of values and what's marketable for these organizations. So if you're seeing that you haven't had a significant increase in salary, you need to really evaluate where you are as far as how much money you want to make. The third thing, and this is something that is super important, I think if there's anything about this live that you need to remember, I think this is it. So, when it comes to understanding if you're underpaid or if you're ready for the next six-figure role, is understanding lifestyle misalignment. And what I mean by that is that if you have a current salary that doesn't align with the lifestyle for your future financial goals that you set for yourself, then you need to reevaluate it. So when I talk to my clients about how much money that they want to make, and oftentimes they'll say, "Oh, I just want to make $100,000, right?" And for many of us, making $100,000 it seems to be a lot of money, especially if you are first gen, like American, first gen college grad, first gen, just everything, right? When you see that you're bringing in $100,000 like to your family, you've made it. But when you think about the types of expenses that you have, particularly student loans, right? If you have other debts, obligations that you need to take care of, if you look at the fact that you want to purchase a home, you want to pay off debt, you want to save for retirement, all of that adds up very quickly. And then you realize that making 100K is not enough. So an exercise that I work through with my clients is that we go through their personal finances. And a specific question that I have for them are what are your future financial goals in the next 6 months, 12 months, maybe even 2 years? And the number one thing that I get is I want to buy a house. And for any of you who have gone through the home buying process, a huge part of purchasing a home is how much money do you bring in? And if you realize that you need to make a certain amount of money to purchase a $300,000 home or a $500,000 home, depending on where you live, then you realize that making enough money to show the underwriters is going to be super important. So as you're thinking, okay, I want to make more money and I want to purchase a home, and the types of homes that I want to purchase, I need to be at a salary at, let's say, $130,000 or 150. Now you're saying to yourself, what kind of roles can I apply for and ultimately land that will pay me the salary so that I can hit my future financial goals? Because I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is just simply getting a new job for the sake of getting a new job. And so, yes, we make an additional $5,000, an additional $10,000, but then you realize that it's not enough, right? like it's not enough to cover where it is that you're trying to be. And something that I tell my clients is that oftentimes in our financial journey and our personal finance development is that you realize that you reach a point where you just have to make more money. Like there's so many expenses that you can cut, right? We read those articles where it's like, okay, make your coffee at home, don't go to Starbucks and all that other stuff, and then you'll be better with money. And yes, true, you can cut your finances as far as like the frivolous things, but there's but so much that you can cut, and you need to get to a point where you have to make more money. And there's nothing wrong with making more money, and I think a lot of times that gets demonized as far as like increasing our salary. But it's okay to desire to make more money. It's okay to desire to make six figures. It's all about how do you position yourself to meet that goal? And then also, how do you become a good steward of the increased income that you're bringing into your household? All right. So the fourth sign we want to talk about when it comes to being underpaid is limited career advancement. And I work with a lot of high achievers. Like I realize that a lot of the clients that come through the branded career, although yes, they want to make more money, but the biggest reason that they are dissatisfied with their current employer, with their current job, is that there is no career growth and there's limited advancement opportunities. So if you're seeing that you're taking on all of these increased responsibilities that we talked about in the beginning of this live, if you see that there really is no place for you to ascend, right? Like this is the highest that you can go as far as like your organization. And then also, if maybe you've already made an investment in your education and your skills, like you've paid for out of pocket to go to the conferences, to do the additional certifications, or maybe you even gotten yourself or achieved a master's degree, then you realize that, okay, there isn't enough career advancement here. That means I need to go somewhere else. And as you're thinking about going somewhere else that will allow you to grow and develop, you also need to think about what kind of salary do I want to achieve at this next organization. So I want you to think about if you are that high performer, that 9 times out of 10, you're in a place where you're underpaid and undervalued. And now it's time for you to start looking at those six-figure leadership opportunities. All right. So the last one, let's talk about market research. And something I see often is that many of us don't know we're underpaid until a coworker accidentally tells us. I can't tell you how many times I've read applications or DM messages from people that say, hey, I was just having a regular conversation with my coworker. They talked to me about their interview and negotiation process, and they're making $10,000, $15,000 more than me, right? And unfortunately, that is the wake-up call that a lot of us get as it relates to our salaries and salary negotiations. And so, another way, or I will say the specific way that many of us should be learning about our salary and where it is that we need to be is through market research. And so, doing market research allows you to see industry trends. It allows you to see just salary and financial demographic information as it relates to the companies in your industry. And then it allows you to really just make an informed decision as it relates to your negotiations, right? Because something that I teach in my salary negotiation class is that your negotiation should be based on facts and not feelings. But the issue is that many of us get caught up in our feelings because we never took the time out to find the facts. And so if you find yourself in a place where you've done your research and you know for this type of role, you should be earning $150,000 and they're only offering 115, those facts allows you to understand that, okay, where I am financially, I can't accept a role for 115. It has to be 150. Whereas if you were in a place where you hadn't done the research, hearing 115,000 is like, oh wow, it's more money than I'm making now, so I should take it. And so you don't necessarily negotiate your salary. And so I encourage all of my clients, and that's something that we specifically do, to do the research and to thoroughly go through what are the data points so that you're able to come armed to the negotiation table to benefit yourself and benefit your career in the future. And so let's recap this. If you're finding yourself with increased responsibilities, You've had stagnant salary growth, I would say anywhere between 3 to 5 years, right? If there's a big one, this big one is lifestyle misalignment, meaning that your future financial goals does not, you won't be able to reach your future financial goals with your current salary. The fourth one is limited career advancement. And then the last one being market research. And so while all of this is definitely important as far as like landing your six figure role, I want to make sure that we're still touching upon job satisfaction, work life balance, and honestly overall career growth. And these are the things that I work through in the through my coaching program and the career catalyst with my clients. And honestly, even through my free consultation calls, a lot of people get the advancement or just the clarity that they need in order to make the next step. So that is all that I have for you today. But I do have a couple of slots open for my consultation calls this week and next week. So if you are in a place where you're like, okay, I've been underpaid for a really, really long time and I'm just ready to step out, understand why I'm not landing the interviews, why I'm being overlooked for the promotion, and then just overall, why are people lowballing me for salary? Then you need to book a call today. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me, shoot me a DM. I'm definitely looking forward to reading some of your comments and your questions. And then also, like I said, book your strategy and consultation call today, and then we can see what we can do to get you into your six figure role. With that, I'll leave you all to have a good night. Bye.